My name is Emily Carter, and I never really believed in karma. Not until the day it showed up, wearing a wedding dress. It all started a few years ago when I landed my dream job at a tech company called Novatech Systems. I was 27, ambitious, and ready to prove myself. The company was big, modern, full of glass offices and people who looked like they'd swallowed the dictionary just to sound smart. But I didn't care. I had something they didn't: drive. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening. My boss, Richard Hayes, was one of those old-school CEOs. Charming when he wanted to be, ruthless when he didn't. He noticed my dedication early on and promoted me to lead a major project, our company's next big app launch. It was the kind of project that could make or break careers. I was proud of how far I'd come, but I had no idea that my biggest nightmare was quietly watching me from across the boardroom table. Ethan Hayes, Richard's only son. Ethan was everything you'd expect from someone born with a silver spoon. Good looks, expensive watch, zero humility. He joined the company as a strategic consultant, which basically meant he got paid to attend meetings and take credit for other people's ideas. From day one, he had a problem with me. Maybe it was because I didn't flatter him like others did, or maybe he just couldn't handle a woman outsmarting him in front of his father. He used to mock my presentations. Once, in front of the entire team, he smirked and said, "You talk big, Emily. Let's hope your results are half as impressive as your confidence." I smiled back and said, "Confidence is what gets results, Ethan. You should try it sometime." The room went silent. He never forgave me for that. Around that time, my personal life was shining. I was engaged to Daniel Reed, the sweetest man I'd ever met. He wasn't rich or flashy, but he respected me, supported me, and made me feel safe. After years of climbing ladders, I'd finally found balance, love and career. We planned a beautiful wedding, simple, elegant, surrounded by family and close friends. But destiny had something else planned. The beginning of the storm. About a week before my wedding, I submitted the final version of our project pitch to the board. It was flawless, months of research, late nights, and testing. Richard congratulated me personally. He even said, "Once this launches, Emily, you'll be one of the most valuable people in this company." Those words stuck in my head. 2 days later, I received a weird call from HR asking for some clarification on project files. Then I noticed something odd. Ethan started acting unusually friendly. He'd drop by my office, offering coffee, making small talk, complimenting my work. I didn't trust it for a second. On the Friday before my wedding, we had our final meeting before I went on a week's leave. Everything went smoothly. Ethan even shook my hand and said, "Enjoy your big day. You've earned it." For a moment, I thought maybe I was wrong about him. I wasn't. The wedding day disaster. The morning of my wedding, everything felt perfect. The soft scent of roses, laughter of my bridesmaids, the excitement in my mother's eyes. It was a dream. I was halfway through getting my makeup done when my phone started buzzing nonstop. Unknown numbers. HR department. The office. At first, I ignored them. Who calls a bride on her wedding day? But then a message popped up on my screen. From Ethan Hayes. I remember the words like a scar burned into my memory. "You're officially terminated from Novatech. Effective immediately. Don't bother showing up again. Consider this my gift to you on your special day." For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. I stared at my phone, thinking it was a sick joke. But then another message arrived. This time, an official termination email. Signed, sealed, and sent. "Due to internal restructuring and performance concerns, your services are no longer required." Performance concerns? I had literally just been praised by the CEO. My hands were shaking so hard that my phone slipped and hit the floor. My best friend, Chloe Brooks, who was helping me with my veil, picked it up. "Emily, what's wrong?" I couldn't speak. I just pointed at the screen. She read the message and gasped. What the hell? On your wedding day? I nodded numbly. My heart felt like it was being crushed. I called HR. The line connected, and the voice on the other end said flatly, "Yes, Emily. The decision came from upper management. You should check your email." Then they hung up. Imagine standing there, in your wedding dress, moments away from walking down the aisle, and your entire career, the thing you built your life around, is taken away. I tried to hold myself together, but tears started streaming down my face. Chloe hugged me tightly, whispering, "You can fix this later. Right now, just breathe." I wanted to, but how could I? All the guests were waiting. My family, Daniel's family, everyone. Daniel walked into the room when he saw I hadn't appeared. His face changed when he saw me crying. What happened? I told him everything. Every single word from Ethan's text. He clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. That bastard. He tried to calm me down, but I couldn't shake the humiliation. I imagined Ethan laughing somewhere, picturing me crying in a wedding dress. For a moment, I wanted to cancel the ceremony. How could I smile, take vows, and celebrate when my world had just been ripped apart? But then, I looked at Daniel. His eyes were full of love and patience. He said softly, "We'll face it together. Let's get married first. Then we'll fight them." Those words gave me strength. I walked down that aisle with trembling legs, forcing a smile while every guest whispered, "She looks upset. Is something wrong?" Only Chloe and Daniel knew the truth. We finished the ceremony, took pictures, smiled through pain, and when the guests left, I went straight home, still in my gown. I didn't even take off my makeup. After the wreck, that night I sat on the couch, scrolling through my phone. The company's website had already replaced my name from the project team. Ethan had listed himself as the new project lead. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about performance. It was about power. He'd stolen my project. I felt sick, betrayed, furious. I sent an email to Richard Hayes directly, demanding an explanation. No reply. I called. His secretary said, "He's unavailable." Daniel tried to make me eat something, but I couldn't swallow. All I could think was, they did this on purpose. By the next morning, my phone was full of messages from coworkers who'd heard the news. One said, "We're shocked, Emily. Everyone knows this isn't fair." Another whispered, "Ethan's bragging about taking over your project." I sat in silence, replaying every moment from the last week. His sudden friendliness, the HR call, Richard's compliments. It was all staged. They wanted to use my work, then erase me before the app launch so they could take the credit. That realization burned deeper than any insult ever could. In the following days, I was a mess. The humiliation wasn't just professional, it was public. Relatives started calling, whispering, "We heard you lost your job right before the wedding. Is it true?" Even my mom cried, saying, "Why would they do this to you?" Daniel stood by me every step of the way. But I could tell he was hurting too, seeing me broken, defeated. I spent nights staring at the ceiling thinking, how do I get justice? How do I get my life back? And then, one sleepless night, something clicked inside me. I realized they didn't just take my job, they underestimated me. They thought I'd crumble, disappear, cry in silence. But they didn't know what I was capable of. I had built that project. Every design, every algorithm, every client presentation, it was mine. Without me, they'd be standing on quicksand. So I decided, if they wanted war, I'd give them one. I started contacting a few people from the tech industry who respected my work, especially Mark Bennett, a CEO from a rival company, Pangea Tech. We'd crossed paths at conferences before, and he always said, "If you ever want to collaborate, my door's open." I took a deep breath and reached out. He responded within hours. We met the next day at a cafe. I told him everything, how I was betrayed, fired, and robbed of my project. He listened quietly, then smiled slightly. Emily, people like Ethan think power protects them. It doesn't. Competence does. If you're willing to rebuild, I'll back you. Those words lit a spark inside me. We spent hours planning how to create a new version of my project under a new name, one that would outperform Novatech's app. For the first time since that nightmare, I felt alive again. But karma moves in mysterious ways, and what happened next proved that when life takes something from you, sometimes it's just making room for something greater. When I walked into the ballroom that evening, it felt like the air itself froze. Every chandelier sparkled like tiny knives in the ceiling, each one reflecting back memories I wanted to bury. I wasn't supposed to be there, at least not as Emily Carter, the woman Daniel betrayed. I was there as Emily Carter, the CEO of Bennett and Carter Holdings, one of the fastest growing companies in the industry. And tonight, the Hayes family would find out who they had really messed with. I could feel people's eyes following me as I walked in. My black evening gown shimmered under the golden light. My hair was tied back neatly, makeup subtle but strong, the kind that said, I don't need to shout to be heard. Mark Bennett, my business partner and the only person who truly believed in me when everything collapsed, whispered, Are you ready for this? I smiled slightly. I've been ready for a long time. On stage, Richard Hayes, Ethan's father, was giving a long speech about legacy and family values. The hypocrisy almost made me laugh. Ethan stood beside him, holding a champagne glass, pretending to be the perfect son and businessman. He didn't see me yet. When he finally did, the look on his face was priceless. Confusion, then recognition, then fear. His grip tightened on the glass, his jaw stiffened. Mark leaned closer. There it is, the face of karma. I walked straight toward the front table. Every step echoed like a drumbeat of revenge. People parted to make way as if they could sense something was about to happen. When I reached the table, Ethan forced a smile. Emily, what a surprise. I didn't expect... I interrupted, my tone calm but cutting. Of course you didn't. You never expect the people you step on to stand tall again. The room went quiet. Cameras clicked. Richard tried to maintain composure. Miss Carter, what brings you here tonight? I looked at him directly. Business, Mr. Hayes. Your company is officially merging with mine. There was a collective gasp. Reporters turned their heads. Ethan's face turned pale. Richard frowned. That's impossible. We haven't approved any. I handed him the folder Mark prepared. You should check your board's recent votes. They were unanimous. Seems your shareholders prefer my leadership over your son's scandals. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. Then, a murmur spread across the room. She bought them out. She's the new CEO? Ethan's composure shattered. You planned this. You used me. I tilted my head, a faint smirk tugging at my lips. Funny, that's exactly what you did to me. Remember our engagement night, when you said I was only good for appearances? His voice rose, desperate. That's not what I... Don't bother lying, I said softly, leaning closer. You broke me once. But when I rebuilt myself, I made sure every brick was sharp enough to cut through people like you. Mark stepped forward, addressing the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, Please welcome the new CEO of Hayes Global, Emily Carter. Applause erupted. Some clapped out of respect, others just out of shock. But in that moment, I didn't hear any of it. My heart was steady, cold, peaceful. Later that night, when most guests had left, Ethan found me on the balcony. The city lights glowed behind him, but his face looked dim, a shadow of the man who once believed he was untouchable. "You got what you wanted," he said bitterly. "Happy now?" I turned toward him, arms crossed. "This isn't about happiness, Ethan. It's about balance. You took everything from me, my dignity, my career, my trust. I didn't come back to hurt you. I came back to remind you that actions have consequences." He laughed, a dry, broken sound. "You sound just like your speeches. Cold, calculated." I looked at him quietly for a moment. "You taught me that kindness gets you betrayed. So yes, I learned." For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. The wind tugged at my hair. The city below hummed, alive, uncaring, relentless. Then I said, "Do you know what's ironic? I used to imagine this moment. I thought I'd feel pure satisfaction watching you fall. But now that it's real, I just feel free." He frowned. "Free?" "Yes," I said, stepping closer. "Because I'm finally done being the victim in your story." He looked down, defeated. "You'll regret this someday." I smiled gently. "Maybe. But at least it'll be my choice this time." 2 weeks later, headlines filled the news. Emily Carter becomes youngest female CEO in industry history. Former Hayes executive under investigation for fraud allegations. It wasn't my doing, not directly at least. The truth had a way of surfacing once the power dynamics changed. Ethan's deals were riddled with lies, and the board was quick to protect their image. I didn't celebrate. I didn't need to. I had already won when I decided not to become like him. Mark walked into my office one afternoon holding coffee. "You really did it," he said with a proud smile. "You turned your pain into an empire." I looked out the window. The same skyline that once made me feel small now felt like it was bowing before me. "I didn't do it alone," I said. "You stood by me when no one else did." He chuckled. "I didn't do much." "You believed in me," I replied. "That's more than Ethan ever did." For a brief moment, we both smiled. Not the smile of victory, but of peace. A few months later, I received a letter. No return address, just my name written in messy handwriting. I recognized it immediately. Ethan. Inside was a short note. "I'm leaving the city. I lost everything. But for what it's worth, I'm sorry. You were always better than me." I folded the letter carefully and placed it in my drawer. Not out of forgiveness, but closure. I had spent so much time wanting to prove myself to him. Now his apology felt like dust. That night I sat by the window of my penthouse, sipping wine, watching the city lights blink like stars. I thought of the woman I used to be, the naive girl who believed love could conquer greed. She was gone now, but in her place stood someone stronger. And maybe that's what karma really is. Not punishment, not revenge, just life restoring its balance. A few weeks later, I attended a charity gala, the same kind of event where I once felt invisible. This time, people wanted to talk to me. They called me Miss Carter, not Daniel's fiancée. During the event, Chloe, my best friend and maid of honor from years ago, approached me with a tearful smile. "I still remember the day you called me after everything fell apart," she said softly. "You were so broken. I didn't think you'd ever recover." I squeezed her hand. I didn't think I would either. But sometimes falling apart is the only way to rebuild stronger. She grinned. "So, what now, CEO Carter?" I smiled back. "Now? I live. Not for revenge, not for anyone's approval, just for me." That night, as I drove home, I took the long route, past the old neighborhood, the coffee shop where Ethan and I had our first date, the tiny park bench where I once dreamed of a happy future. It didn't hurt anymore. It just reminded me how far I'd come. And as I parked my car and looked at my reflection in the rearview mirror, I whispered the words that had carried me through every sleepless night, every betrayal, every tear. "You didn't destroy me. You prepared me."